Hey guys, welcome back to another online lesson. This is lesson 4.1. We're going to start with integers and graphing. Make sure you have your note sheets ready. Okay, so vocabulary to know. Well, first off, let me apologize for the purple haze that has taken over my screen. That's okay, just make sure that you can read your paper and hopefully you'll be able to read the screen. Okay, so first thing, integers. Integers is any whole positive or negative numbers and zero. So the key is that it has to be a whole number. For example, 5 is an integer. 3 is also an integer. -5 and -3 are also integers. However, anything with a decimal point 5, not an integer. Anything with a fraction, say 3/5, also not an integer. The key is that it has to be a whole number. No fractions, no decimals. And yes, 0 does count as an integer. So I just threw a couple words, positive and negative, out to you. So let's really break down what they are. Negative numbers are less than 0. Positive numbers are greater than 0. So here I have your little number line here. Less than 0 are negative numbers. Greater than 0, those are the positive numbers. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay. I included this on your paper, nothing for you to write on it. Just this sort of a really in-your-face kind of bold what integers are. And here we have negative numbers, positive numbers. There's my number line. You might see 0 referred to as an origin a time or two, but just know, negative numbers, positive numbers, and that's what we're going to be dealing with today and for the next few weeks. Okay, graphing. Graph -5 and 1 on the number line. So here we have a number line, and sometimes the numbers will be labeled for you, sometimes they won't. Bit of advice I have is to always start with 0 when you're graphing integers, because that way it gives you kind of a starting point or an origin. So here I have a completely blank number line. I'm going to graph -5 and 1. So I'm going to need numbers that are less than 0, and I'm going to need numbers that are greater than 0. I'm just going to start with 0 somewhere close to the middle. So there's my origin. And I want to graph -5 and 1. Now, I'm going to label -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And you could continue labeling if you want, but I'm going to stop there. Here I'm going to label my positive numbers, +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, and +6. And again, I could go on and on and on. Now notice with this number line here, it has the arrow pointing that way, meaning that it could go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Same thing on this side. Your positive integers could go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But we don't need to graph those. What we're looking for is to graph -5 and 1. And when you graph a number, make sure that you make your dot big and bold. So here I have 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. I put a dot and I make it big and bold. Therefore, -5 is graphed. On the same number line, we can graph 1. And there it is, +1. Big and bold, boom. Graph -5 and 1 on a number line. We graphed -5 and we graphed 1. So that's how we graph. Same type thing, except for this time we're going to graph 2, 3, and -8 on a number line. I don't know why I just erased that. I'm just going to have to rewrite it. But we'll pick 0. I don't know, we'll put 0 right here. Now the reason I put 0 way closer to this side this time is because I have to get all the way to -8. So I got to make sure I have enough negative spaces there to graph it. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and -8. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's okay, because we don't have to graph up to 8, but we know 8 would go on and on and on. So let's graph. First I go to 2, 1, 2. And when you graph, make sure that it lines up with what you should be graphing. And then we have to graph 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 2. Perfect. And then we have to graph -8. So I move right to -8 and I graph it. So therefore we have 2 graphed. Yep. We have 3 graphed. Yep. And we have -8 graphed. Perfect. The key is when you're doing these to make sure that you label your number line correct. If you don't label your number line correct, graphing, well, that's the easy part. Then you're just putting dots at the numbers. Make sure that number line is labeled correct. So on your paper, you should have your number line labeled. Let's go on. Okay, another thing we're going to look at this year, or should I say with this video, is we're going to write integers for different situations. Now, this sounds a little abstract, but let me walk you through a model, and then we'll talk about it more in class. So we're asked to write an integer for the below situation. So we want to write 4 inches above normal rainfall. Okay. And then it's asking, what does 0 mean? So here I have a rain cloud, right? So say on Monday it rained here. And then Tuesday was a normal rainfall day. And then Wednesday it was a normal rainfall day. But on Thursday it was 4 inches above normal rainfall. Okay. So what integer is that? Well, integers, positive or negative numbers. Ask yourself, did the amount of rainfall go up or increase? And in fact, it did. It went up 4 inches. So therefore, what integer is that going to represent? It's going to represent a positive 4 because it went up 4. So the integer is going to be 4. Now, if it was 4 inches below normal rainfall, then it would be a -4. But anything up or positive is going to be a positive number. Anything that goes down or lower is going to be a negative number. Now let's talk about this one. What does 0 mean? So here I have my rainfall, and then it goes up 4. So my 0 is going to be here, and then it's going to be up 4 to go there. So what is 0? 0 is just normal rainfall. Okay? So if in your notes right now you have this down, good. That's the part I want you to have. In class, I'm going to talk a lot more about this whole situation integer type thing. Last thing I want you to do, this is a you try. Now for your convenience, I included a number line with numbers, but just be ready that on a lot of number lines you're going to have to put the numbers down. So real simple. What I want you to do is do 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to graph those 4 numbers on the number line and be ready to work in class. See ya.